What happens when someone at the top of their game just vanishes without a trace? This is the story of a man who defined an entire generation, then disappeared when everyone least expected it. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew. Bill Bellamy wasn't just another face on television. During the 1990s, he became the voice of a generation. He was everywhere, hosting the biggest music shows, making audiences laugh, and interviewing the most iconic names in entertainment. Then, at the height of his success, something happened. He was gone. No warning signs, no farewell, nothing. Just silence. For years, people asked the same question: where did he go? What really happened behind closed doors? The answers that eventually surfaced shocked everyone who had followed his career. Bill's story begins in Newark, New Jersey, a city that was struggling during the 1970s and 80s. This wasn't a place known for producing entertainers. It was known for survival. Economic hardship was everywhere. Jobs were scarce. Violence was common. Growing up here meant learning to be tough from an early age. Born on April 7, 1965, Bill came from a hardworking family. His father worked long hours doing manual labor. His mother juggled multiple jobs just to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads. Life wasn't easy, but they made it work. Then came a moment that changed everything, a tragedy that would haunt Bill for the rest of his life. His younger brother lost his life to street violence. One moment of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Bill's world shattered. That loss stayed with him forever. It became the driving force behind his desire to escape, to build a different life, to make something of himself. Comedy became his way out. At school, Bill learned that making people laugh gave him power. It protected him. It made him friends. While others saw him as just another kid from a rough neighborhood, he saw an opportunity. One teacher even told him he would never succeed. Those words didn't break him. They fueled him. After finishing school, Bill went to college, but his heart wasn't in it. Every night he would travel to New York City, chasing a dream that most people told him was impossible. The comedy scene in the 1980s was brutal. Crowds were harsh. Other performers were competing for the same spots. Failure was public and painful. But Bill kept going back. Night after night, he stepped onto stages where audiences waited to tear performers apart. Sometimes they did. But slowly, something changed. People started laughing. They started remembering his name. The breakthrough came at the Apollo Theater, a legendary venue known for making or breaking careers in minutes. If the crowd didn't like you, you were pulled off stage immediately. Many never made it past their opening lines. But when Bill stepped into that spotlight, something clicked. The audience responded. They laughed, they cheered, they stood up. New York finally recognized that this young man from Newark had something special. Word spread quickly through the comedy world. Then one night, everything changed again. A producer from MTV was in the audience at a small club in Manhattan. Bill was telling stories that were funny, raw, and deeply personal. The room was captivated. So was the producer. Days later, Bill received a phone call he never expected. MTV wanted to meet with him. The biggest music network in America was interested. For someone who had grown up dodging danger in Newark, who had struggled through countless open mic nights, this felt impossible, but it was real. When Bill walked into that audition, he didn't know what to expect, but when he started talking, the room responded instantly. By the time he left, the producers knew they had found someone extraordinary. They just didn't realize how much he would change their network. The 1990s belonged to MTV, and Bill Bellamy became one of its brightest stars. From the moment he appeared on MTV Jams, audiences couldn't look away. He had confidence that felt natural, energy that filled every frame, and a way of connecting with people that made every interview feel genuine. Within months, ratings climbed whenever he hosted. Major artists requested him specifically. Interviews that could have been stiff and rehearsed became relaxed and memorable. When he sat down with legends like Tupac, Biggie, Aaliyah, Snoop Dogg, and Diddy, something different happened. They opened up, they laughed, they trusted him. That said everything about his presence. Then came MTV Beach House, and Bill's fame exploded to a new level. Thousands of people packed beaches just to see him. Music blasted continuously. Cameras captured every moment. And Bill ran the entire party with effortless charisma. He became the face of summer for an entire generation. When he smiled, crowds erupted. When he joked, everyone felt included. His stand-up career took off simultaneously. With MTV giving him national exposure, his comedy tours sold out across the country. His nightly earnings skyrocketed from a few $100s to thousands, sometimes tens of thousands for major shows. Money flowed easily during this golden period. At a time when television rarely gave major platforms to black entertainers, Bill broke through. He became a mainstream star, opening doors for many who came after him. His influence spread beyond hosting into language itself. During one episode, he casually mentioned something called a booty call. It was just a throwaway joke, but America grabbed onto it. The phrase exploded into popular culture, appearing in movies, music, everyday conversation. One spontaneous moment created a linguistic phenomenon that defined an era. Hollywood noticed. After conquering television, Bill transitioned into film. In 1997, he starred in How to Be a Player, carrying the entire movie on his shoulders. It became a box office success and a cultural touchstone. Shortly after, he appeared alongside major stars like Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx, and Cameron Diaz in Oliver Stone's Any Given Sunday. Suddenly, Bill wasn't just a host or comedian anymore. He was a legitimate actor. Studios started offering him substantial contracts, sometimes reaching 7 figures for major projects. He represented youth culture everywhere he went. If someone listed the top icons of the 1990s, Bill's name belonged there without question. But just when everything seemed perfect, cracks began forming beneath the surface, and they would eventually tear down everything he had built. As Bill's fame grew, so did tensions behind the scenes. The more successful he became, the more some executives at MTV started viewing him as a threat. Reports suggest there were concerns that he was becoming too independent, too influential, too powerful. Then MTV's direction shifted. The network began focusing on reality television to attract younger viewers. Music programming, the foundation that made stars like Bill, started disappearing. His hosting opportunities quietly decreased. Shows he expected to host suddenly featured different faces. No explanations were given. The message was clear without words being spoken. Industry insiders whispered that Bill was being phased out intentionally. Whether completely true or not, the result was undeniable. Bill's presence on MTV vanished almost completely. The network that made him famous moved on without him. Meanwhile, Hollywood was changing too. The type of comedy films that dominated the 1990s stopped getting made. Studios shifted toward different styles and stories. The roles that suited Bill's talents disappeared from scripts. When similar roles did appear, they were smaller, less significant. Bill refused to accept stereotypical parts that reduced him to one-dimensional characters. He wanted substantial roles that showcased his full range. But some industry figures wanted him to stay within narrow boundaries. One producer reportedly told him during an audition that they were looking for someone less polished. That wasn't a compliment. It was a coded rejection. At the same time, a new generation of comedians rose rapidly, boosted by social media, viral videos, and streaming platforms. Kevin Hart exploded into superstardom. Others followed. The comedy landscape transformed quickly, and Bill struggled to find his place in this new environment. He faced an identity crisis. Was he a host, an actor, a stand-up comedian? MTV had made him legendary, but that platform was gone. Hollywood had welcomed him, but never fully committed. Stand-up was his foundation, but younger performers dominated the spotlight. Bill stood at a crossroads with no clear path forward, and as his professional life crumbled, his personal life entered its own storm. Bill married Kristen Baker in 2001. From the outside, they appeared to be the perfect couple, but behind closed doors, they faced challenges that tested their relationship severely. When Bill's income became unstable after leaving MTV and Hollywood moved on, financial pressure mounted. There were periods when they barely spoke to each other, overwhelmed by stress and uncertainty. Rumors of infidelity surfaced between 2010 and 2015, though no evidence ever appeared. Social media spread speculation anyway. Kristen later admitted these rumors caused significant pain, even though she trusted her husband. Bill chose not to respond publicly, believing silence was better than fueling speculation. What most people don't know is that Bill nearly died in 2020. When COVID-19 hit, he became severely ill. His symptoms escalated quickly: high fever, breathing difficulties, spreading pneumonia. He was rushed to the hospital with dangerously low oxygen levels. Doctors told his family the first hours would determine everything. Kristen stood outside his isolation room, watching through glass as medical staff worked. Their children stood behind her, crying quietly. Bill later shared that he genuinely didn't know if he would survive. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought about his brother and wondered if they were about to reunite. He survived, but emerged changed. The invincible performer had stared at death and realized life was shorter than he once believed. Throughout all this, grief compounded. The loss of his brother in childhood had always been Bill's deepest wound. He had covered it with laughter and buried it in work. But when his career slowed and stages dimmed, that pain returned with crushing force. Then more losses followed. Family members, close friends. Funerals came one after another. When everything changed too quickly, his career, his health, his sense of purpose, Bill made a choice. He pulled back. Fewer appearances, fewer shows, fewer interviews. Not because he quit, but because he needed to protect what remained of himself. He needed to rediscover who he was beneath the fame. Here's what surprises most people. Bill never went broke. While many stars from his era eventually faced financial ruin, Bill managed his money carefully. Current estimates suggest his net worth remains between $8 and $10 million. Impressive for someone who essentially disappeared from mainstream entertainment for 15 years. How? He never abandoned stand-up completely. Throughout his quiet years, Bill continued touring steadily, not massive arena shows, but consistent theater performances from Las Vegas to Atlantic City. His shows always sold enough tickets to generate reliable income. One veteran comedian observed, "Bill will never be broke. As long as he can hold a microphone, he'll be fine." He also invested wisely in real estate across California. Not flashy mansions, but stable assets that appreciated over time. These investments helped maintain his financial security throughout the years when Hollywood forgot his name. Then, when everyone assumed Bill Bellamy was just a memory, something unexpected happened. He came back. His comeback didn't start with television or movies. It started with a podcast called Top Billin' with Bill Bellamy. Initially, nobody expected much. But within weeks, clips from his show exploded across social media. Millions of views poured in. Why? Because Bill is a living archive of 1990s hip-hop culture. For the first time, audiences heard untold stories from behind the scenes. Tupac laughing like a kid, Biggie reflecting on mortality, Aaliyah being shy yet powerful, Ice Cube cracking jokes, artists thanking Bill privately for interviews that showcased them authentically. Every story he tells carries historical weight because he was actually there, standing at the center of that cultural revolution. Within months, a new generation discovered him. Gen Z viewers asked, "Who is this guy and why is he so cool?" Millennials returned with nostalgia. The podcast became a phenomenon. Then Bill did something else unexpected. He fully committed to stand-up again. With the intensity and hunger of his early days, he returned to stages across America. And anyone who attends his shows understands immediately Bill came back stronger than before. His material is hilarious, sharp, emotional, drawing from decades of experience. Every show sells out. Old fans return to see their icon. Young fans arrive curious about the viral sensation. Everyone leaves impressed. Hollywood noticed. But this time, it wasn't old-school directors calling. It was young filmmakers, the generation who grew up watching MTV, who lived through 90s culture. They said they needed a real OG, not someone pretending. In recent years, Bill has appeared on talk shows, podcasts, radio programs, and in new film and television projects. The industry that pushed him out is now pulling him back like a rediscovered treasure. Part of why Bill's comeback resonates so powerfully is that he looks remarkably good. At over 55 years old, he appears much younger than many contemporaries from his era. People constantly mention this on social media. It's not just nostalgia, it's genuine surprise that he seems unchanged by time. His sharp storytelling combined with his preserved presence makes his return feel authentic and powerful. Bill Bellamy's legacy extends far beyond hosting shows or making people laugh. He witnessed and participated in the golden age of American hip-hop culture. He opened doors for black artists to enter mainstream entertainment without compromising their authenticity. He softened cultural barriers through humor and genuine connection. He created phrases that entered the American vocabulary. He interviewed legends during their peak. He represented an entire generation's energy and spirit. His impact lives not in contracts or camera time, but in the cultural footprint he left behind. So what do you think about this story? Which moment from Bill's career stands out most to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more untold stories about the legends who shaped entertainment history, make sure to subscribe, because there are so many more stories waiting to be told, stories of resilience, survival, and triumph that most people never hear. What will the next chapter hold for Bill Bellamy? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, he's not done yet.